you love American government. Why don't you study this? And so I thought, well, that's an interesting thing. And so I started that. I added American government to my course of study when I went to Temple, and that's when, it all came together.
To what extent did the Vietnam War and American foreign policy at that time shape your understanding of the world?
I don't know that it was actually Vietnam. It was just that was what was dominating the headlines. So I'm the kind of person, I remember at 8 years old exactly where I was when Richard Nixon resigned. I was a child who was tuned into politics in a very perhaps unhealthy and bizarre way.
But it was hard not to be.
I guess it was. I guess it was.
If you were serious about, if you came from a place of citizenship,
Exactly.
you had to be keyed in. And you said your
Exactly.
family was
Exactly.
politically connected.
Exactly. And also, I'm the youngest in my family, so I have 6 older brothers and sisters. There was, of course, concerns that my one brother in particular might be drafted. It's the height of the kind of women's movement. I have 5 older sisters. All of the social norms are changing. So, it was an interesting time. Like, I kind of think of a parallel universe as being like kind of Sally Draper in Mad Men. That's the time that I grew up in. Fortunately, my father was a much better man than Tom Draper and much more stable but equally handsome. But it was a tumultuous time, and I think everybody paid a lot of attention to politics then.
What's your sense of citizenship at this point in time? Now you're actually on the ground, going and seeking support. You're working with rank and file party members. Do you feel that there's a citizenship gap?
I don't. I in the academic space, I come from an area where people always talked about, oh, kids today. And as a matter of fact, I wrote a textbook because I rejected that paradigm, and what I was started to see I guess it was around 2005, that children, what we now identify as millennials, we didn't have a name for it back then, but that they are engaged in politics very strongly, but in much different ways than times past. So a lot of the research in political science had been, oh, they're not going to gardening club meetings or Lions Club meetings or those kind of events. And it's like, well, no, but they're in a Starbucks talking about things, or they're using their purchasing power to buy, to buy things that are fair trade or boycott things they disagree with. What I'm finding now is it's incredible the number of people that are engaged. When I can't say that I've been to an event, and granted, I haven't been to that many events, but in the small amount of time that I've been doing this, I haven't been to an event where the room isn't packed. It's 6 o'clock on a Sunday evening when there's a football game on, a playoff game. It's Saturday morning, people are out. And so, and maybe that's the district, because Democrats in particular are really angry at Van Drew, that it's generating that kind of interest. But even yesterday, I was at 3 or 4 different Martin Luther King events, and 9 o'clock in the morning, kids are off school and their parents are taking them to prayer breakfasts. And I was at Mount Zion Church in Pleasantville, and it was packed, like the standing room only. So I think that if nothing else, the Trump presidency has revived our sense of civic responsibility, and people who may have sat on the sidelines for a really long time and said, everything's fine, I don't need to contribute, are now like, oh, I need to contribute, I need to do my part.